Welcome to the podcast, Let the Prophet Speak. This is Ishayahu, Isaiah 60. That's chapter Perek Samach. In the last chapter, we just finished where God told us that because we were so full of iniquity, so full of evil, so full of dishonesty and falsehood, and no one was standing up in the market and telling people to get better, telling people to change, and we weren't doing it on our own. So God said He was going to come and bring us closer to Himself. And then He also said that those that do decide to repent, do decide to come close to God, will be redeemed in the end of days, but those that do not will get punished and will not be redeemed. Now, in this chapter, God addresses Zion. He addresses Yerushalayim. It's not obvious from the first verse, but it becomes obvious through the context of the entire Perek. So, in the last chapter, it was Yeshayahu talking. He was speaking to the people, and he was bringing them the message that God wanted him to give them. Now, we have God speaking directly to Zion, more or less a continuation of some of the earlier chapters where we had also a dialogue between God and Zion. So let's start verse 1. Kumi Ori. Stand up, get up, wake up, and shine your light. Ki va orech. For your light has come. It has come time for you, Jerusalem, to shine. Uchvod Adonai, and the honor of God, alayich zorach, is shining upon you. And the inference being that God is shining upon Jerusalem and Zion, and it is therefore for Zion to shine upon the world. I just want to remind you all the way back in chapter 2, verses 1 and 3, verses 1 through 3, I just want to read that to you because it was in the end of the day that the mountain of the house of God will stand tall and proud in the tops of the mountains. And all of the nations, all the nations will come towards it, and like a river, they will flow towards it. And many, many nations will come, and say, let's come and let's go up to the mountain of God. May God teach us from His ways, and we will go in His ways. Torah, because from Zion, from Zion, the Torah teaching comes out, Udvar Adonai, in the word of God, Yerushalayim, and so on. And then it goes on to the beautiful vision of beating the swords into plowshares, etc. This is what we're saying here now, but this is just a different, a little bit more elaborate than what was said in that chapter then. Let's go on to verse 2. Kihinei hachoshech, because the darkness, Yichasa Eretz, was covering the earth. Va'arafel le'umim, and the thick clouds of darkness was covering the nations. V'alayich yizrach Adonai, but upon you, Zion, is shining God's light. Uchvodo alayich yira'eh, and the honor of God will be seen upon you, Jerusalem and Zion. We'll see a little bit later in the chapter exactly what it is that makes Zion so special, but we'll get there. And many nations will go to by your light. In this particular chapter here, 16, it is interesting to note that this, although in the chapter before, when we spoke of Zion and her children coming back, it was referencing the Jewish people. Here, it is referencing all the nations of the world without any specific emphasis on the Jewish people. And nations will go by your light, and kings will walk by your shining glow. Raise your eyes and look about. God tells Zion, Uri'i, and look, see them. Kulam nikbetzu ba'olach, they are all gathering together and coming to you. Bonayach merachok yava'u, Your children are coming from far, far away. Uvenosayach, and your daughters al tzad te'omana. This is a little difficult to translate. This daughters on the side te'omana. The commentaries explain that te'omana here is a reference to Omein es hadasa, which we find in Esther. Oman meaning a nursemaid or nursing. So, and your daughters will be carried on the side like a nursing woman carries her child. That's the image that there's various ways to translate it. That's the translation I'm gonna use here. Oz tiri, then you shall see v'nahart, and you will glow ufachad. Here, usually pachad means fear, but here the Radak explains that it means not fear, but the awe and the wonder that happens when a person is surprised by just absolutely wonderful news. V'rochav levavech, and your heart will be widened and just ecstatic. Ki yehafech alayach hamon yam, because all of the hamon yam, the peoples of the seas, or the masses coming from the seas towards you, or it could mean, some translate as the wealth that comes from the sea is coming, it has now turned towards you. Chel goyim yavo'olach, the greatness, the riches, the wealth of many nations upon the world are all coming towards you. Shifas kimalim, the dusts of all the camels that are kicking up, that are coming, traveling towards you. Techasech will cover you. B'chrei midyan v'efa, the camels that come from Midian and Ephah, these are places. Kulam mishava yava'u, all the people from Shiva, which is down south of Ethiopia, or Sheba, right, are coming. Zahavu levona yisau, they're carrying gold and frankincense. These are very valuable items. Utihilot Adonai Vaseru, and they are all bringing the news and praising God. Called Tzon Kedar Yikavtzulach, all of the sheep from the land of Kedar are gathering around you. Elei Nivayot Yishar Sunech, the rams that come from Nivayot are coming to serve you. Ya'alu al Ratzon Mizbechi, they will all be brought as welcome sacrifices on my altar. Uveis Tifarti Afoer, and I will make my house glorious to welcome all of these people. Mi elek ka'avtu ufena, who are all these people that are flying like clouds flying, uchayonim al arubotehem, and like a mass of doves flying towards their homes. Kili iyim yikavu, because we know that the faraway nations, the ihim, they all hope for me. They're all waiting for me. V'anios Tarshish barishona, and the ships that come from Tarshish, a faraway land that were famous for their sailing, they're coming first. L'havi banayach merachok, they're bringing your children from far, far away. Kaspam uzahavam itam, they are bringing their gold and their silver. L'shem Adonai Elohayach, because in the name of your God, Jerusalem, your God, L'kdosh Yisrael kife'arach, and for the one who is the Holy One of Israel, who has made you glorious. Uvanu b'nei nechar chomosayach, and all of these foreign people, the people that weren't the Jewish people, that weren't the original citizens of Jerusalem, but now they're all here. They're going to come and build the walls. Umalchehem, and their leaders, Yishar Sunech, they will serve you. Because it's true that when I was angry at you, I struck you down, I knocked down your walls. But now, now that I favor you, I have mercy on you, and I will allow you to be rebuilt. Your gates shall be open all day and all night. So many people coming in and out, and it's also that it has to be open 24/7. But also more than that, gates close at night when people are are afraid of attackers and so on, but no longer will there be such fear, so the gates will always be open. But it continues, the reason why I'll stay open is in order to bring into you all of the wealth of the nations, with the kings of all the nations leading their people to Jerusalem. Because the nation and the kingdom that do not humble themselves before you, Zion, they will be destroyed. And those nations, they will be destroyed. This idea, again, it is important that those that are arrogant and are not willing to accept God and are still going to continue in their evil ways will not be part of this wonderful, wonderful vision that we're reading about. Kavod HaLevanon, God continues to talk to Zion in 13. The honor of Lebanon, which was then considered, that was the source of massive forests and wood so the honor of Lebanon, Eliach Yevo, is coming to Jerusalem for bringing building materials. Berosh Tidharu Ta'ashur Yachtav. These are three types of trees: cypress, pine, and box trees. Whether that's those, some translators translate the species of trees differently, but it's three species of trees that grow in Lebanon. L'fa'er makom mikdashi, in order to build glorious places around the place of my temple, u'makom raglai echabed, and to give honor at the place where my feet rest. This is kind of a reference to what we have in Yechezkel and Ezekiel chapter 43, verse 7, where he talks about the place of the temple as Mekom Kapot Raglai, the place where the soles of my feet rest. So it's kind of a metaphor for this being the place where God's feet rest on the earth. And here we have Isaiah using the same place, Makom Raglai, and we'll see it in a minute in the next verse too. And bowing before you, right, coming towards you and bowing will be those people who used to torture you and used to suffer you and used to attack you. Al kapot raglayech, and they will bow down to the soles of your feet. That same term, kol menatzayach, all of those people who used to give you pain, who used to cause you suffering. V'karulach, and they will call out to you, Ir Adonai Tzion Kadosh Yisrael. This is the city of God. This is Zion, the city of God, who is the Holy One of Israel. Now, Tachat hayosech azuva usnua v'enover, instead of how you used to be, which you were forsaken and hated, and no one bothered to come to you, v'samtich l'gaon olam, and you will be instead placed for a pride of the world, mesos dor vadar, a place where every generation will rejoice. I just want to point out in the last couple verses, it is clear that those who were the torturers and oppressors and tormentors of Zion are not necessarily the same as the ones that will be destroyed, because we're saying no, that they're all coming, they're also part of the crowd of people that are coming to bow and before God in Jerusalem, and part of this wonderful celebration that's being described here. Because all of those that are willing to part from their evil, dishonest, and arrogant ways and be humble before God will all be welcome in Jerusalem. Even those that were evil before. It is only those that refuse to accept God and refuse to accept God's ways. And we're going to learn in a minute what this means by accepting God's ways. Just hang in there. We're about to get to that verse 2. And those are the ones that will be destroyed. V'yanakt chalev goyim, and you, Zion, will nurse the milk of the nations. V'shod milachim tinaki, and you will nurse from the breasts of the kings of the world. In other words, the wealth of the world will be focused on the glory of God in Jerusalem. V'yadat, and you will know, ki ani Adonai Moshiach, I am God, the one who saved you. V'goalech, Avir Yaakov. I am the one who redeemed you, the mighty one of Yaakov. That's my name. God, the mighty one of Yaakov, is the one who's redeeming all the nations. Tachas hanachoshes avizahav. Everything will be increased in its value and beauty. So instead of copper, I will bring gold. V'tachas habarzel, instead of iron, avi chesef, I will bring silver. V'tachas ha'etzim, instead of wood, nechoshes, there will be copper. V'tachas ha'avonim, instead of stone, barzel, there will be iron. V'samti pekudasech shalom. In other words, you will be built up with the most beautiful, most wonderful materials. And v'samti pekudasech shalom, I will make your government, the ones that are appointed in charge of you, will be peace. That's what will be in charge of you. V'nog sayech, and those who are your officers, the ones who usually are nogsim, who usually rule with an iron fist, but in your case, righteousness will be in charge of the ones. Righteousness will enforce, so to speak, peace in your city. Lo yishama od chamas bi'artzeich. What is it that's bringing people to Jerusalem? What do they need to recognize and do in order to be part of this? What is it that all these nations are accepting upon themselves? That no longer will there be Hamas in your land. No longer will there be thievery, people taking advantage of one another. Hamas is when one person forces things out of someone else in dishonest ways. No longer will that exist. Shod vashever bigvulayach. No longer will people steal from each other and forcefully take things away from each other. V'karos yeshuah chamosayach. And people will say that these walls are redemption, are deliverance. Usha'arayach tehilah. And those gates will be praised, because everyone will know that is where honesty rules. Lo yelach od hashemesh la'or yomam. No longer will you even need the sun for the light of day. U'leno ga'yerech lo yoyelach. And you won't need the shine of the moon to give you light. V'hayolach Adonai la'or olam. God will be a light forever. V'yelohayach l'tifartech. Your glory will be your God. Lo yavo od shemshech v'yireichech lo yasef. No longer will your sun set, and no longer will your moon wane. Ki Adonai yelach la'or olam. God will be for you a light forever. V'shalmu yemei avlech. And all of the days of your mourning and suffering will be completely gone. This is so important when God points out what it is that He wants in Jerusalem. No more taking advantage one person of the other. That's what He wants. That's the bottom line. And that is all of the people that are willing to accept that and live that way will be part of this glorious future. The Amech, and your nation, in other words, your Zion's nation, the people that live now with you, Kulam Tzadikim, they are all righteous. L'olam yirshu aretz. They will inherit the land forever. Neitzer mato'ai. The plant that I planted. Ma'aseh yodai lehispaer. They are my handiwork, and I can glorify myself by so to speak, bragging about my people that I planted. Hakaton yel'elef. The small city, presumably this refers to Zion, will be like 1,000 times as larger than it was. The Hatzoir, and the young youth, L'goyatzum, will grow to be a powerful nation. Ani Adonai, I am God. Bi'ita achishena. In its time, I will make it happen quickly. Thank you so much for listening to chapter 60 and studying it with us. Looking forward to studying chapter 61 together.